Hello and welcome back to Fallon Radio. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about updates up to this point with Penelope, and then we're also going to be talking about what's to come. So let's dive in. I literally am at such a loss to explain even the first of what's been going on with my daughter and her medical stuff. It's so involved is a great word to use here. Penelope has gotten all of her genetic testing done, literally every genetic test that you could possibly do. The only one we haven't gotten any results back for is called Global Maps right now, and that one's probably going to come back soon. All I know is this: we got her exome done, we got her genome done, and we got her mitochondrial panel done, and everything is more or less negative. Like, there is no explanation as to why she's experiencing what she's experiencing neurologically. That being said, there is a recessive trait that she carries, and it's very uncertain if this was turned on by chemo or if this is actually not turned on at all right now. So actually, the doctors that we are seeing in Philadelphia are consulting with a doctor in the Netherlands. It's like such an insane thing to say because there's no explanation. Like, there is literally, it's June, we don't have a diagnosis. Like, there is still no clear-cut understanding of what is even happening with Penelope. So all that we know is that she's having these epileptic spasms, and there's a medicine that can treat the epileptic spasms, so we're going to give it a try. I have to take her to an eye doctor, is my understanding, before I give her the medication and while she's on the medication. And then it's going to be just kind of like monitoring and managing symptoms, is my understanding. So I don't know what's going to happen, but what I do know is that she's happy and she likes to play, and she's still a toddler. Like, she's still a 3-year-old, and she's still a little girl. So that's all I know, and that's all the doctors know. And I don't know, we'll have to see what happens as time goes on. Only time will tell, I guess, right? So this makes it arguably much more difficult than her leukemia diagnosis, because at least with her leukemia diagnosis is like, yes, we know that this is acute myeloid leukemia. Yes, we have a standard treatment plan. This is how we're going to go about doing it. With this, the only thing that this could be from is chemotherapy. That is literally, right now, that is the only explanation on the table. And there's no genetic explanation. There's no neurological explanation, because neurologically she was fine prior to chemo. The only thing that can explain this is an effect of the chemotherapy. So we, maneuver, we manage, we move on. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but what I do know is that the first most paramount thing is to control her spasms. And we are at the very next medication to be able to do that. So that's what we're going to do. So that's an update with Penelope. It's still just as exciting every day as, as it was when we were going through leukemia treatment. And then the other side of this update is what's going on with life. So you probably have seen boxes here and there. I did have my sign. I set up my sign in the podcasting room in the office in the house that we're currently renting, and I'm going to need to take it down because we're going to be moving. I'm moving back in with family, and it is yet another starting over from nothing story. So in this case, instead of letting it defeat me, and instead of approaching it with the I'm going to pay off my debt mindset, we're approaching it different this time, because when I went into moving into my mom's and taking care of me and Penelope, I spent a very long time paying off my debt. I spent the entirety of my stay at my mom's paying off my debt. There's nothing wrong with paying off your debt, except that paying off your debt doesn't grow anything. Like it takes you from negative this much to negative this much. So this time we're going to flip it. This time what I've been focusing on and working on doing is building my assets. So June 15th is our very last day here in this house. And then we're going to be going to my uncle's, and it's going to be me and the kids. And the name of the game is how much can we build our assets in X amount of time so that we're generating enough income to change X situation being the living situation. So that's the name of the game. It's kind of like this flip of the coin thing for me, because I know that it's about building assets and I know it's about rebuilding from scratch, and I see the opportunity and the potential for a brand to take off where it's like, watch me start over from nothing, you know? And I also see what that house is representative of to me, because it's not just my uncle's house. It's a family house. My grandparents own that house, and to me, to the entire family, in some way, shape, or form, that house is a quote-unquote safe haven. Not my term, my cousin's term. But to me, when I look at that house and I look at what I'm walking through right now, these are difficult times for me, because my expectation of myself was always so high. I never expected of myself that I would be in this low expectation. I never expected that I would be not making enough money to support myself, that my kid would be going through this complex medical journey. I never would have, if you told me when I was in my early 20s that this was going to be my life, I would have laughed and I would have walked the other way. I was like, there's no way that's going to be my life. And here I am. There's an oil blockade at the Strait of Hormuz, a Cheeto Puff for president, the highest cost of living that probably we've ever seen ever in the entirety of ever. And I'm not generating enough to be able to pay the bills, to be able to put a roof over my head. And I never would have expected that from myself in a million years, because I was part of the generation where you do really well and you get a reward. You know, you're top of your class and you win. And the more you win, the better off you're going to be. And the smarter you are, the better off you're going to be. And how many different people and how many different places would commend me on my intelligence, and it's gotten absolutely nowhere. It means nothing. It's not to say that I don't want to be intelligent. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, though, is that your success in these other aspects and areas of life is not hinging on your intellect. It hinges on something entirely different, on good choices. Have you made smart choices with what is presented to you, right? Like, we can look at let's just take Penelope's situation, because I feel like that's a really easy one for me to dissect, and they're really hard choices, but it's easy for me in a sense because we've already had to do this. When your daughter, who's 2, gets diagnosed with leukemia and it's a genetic mutation, you can either go about treating her a non-conventional way that does not involve chemotherapy, that has no backing of whether or not it's going to even create a genetic shift with the genetic mutation she already had, or you give her the chemotherapy because there's studies that have been done that it is going to eliminate the genetic mutation that she got, and that she will survive and she will continue to live. there are going to be people who are going to say, like, yes, there are plenty of other options out there besides chemotherapy. And they very well might be right. And with the options that I had at the time, what else was I going to do? The FDA hadn't approved sound therapy yet. The FDA, I just saw something the other day that the FDA finally approved sound therapy to treat cancers. It's a trade-off. It's constantly trade-offs. And so I never thought that this would be the trade-off that would put me here. I thought that I would be in a very different place in my life at this point in my life. I thought I would be a homeowner. I thought I would have enough money to be comfortable. I thought that I would have my kids and that they would be normal and that they would live normal lives and they would be happy and they would be playing together and we would go on 1 or 2 vacations a year with the goal of shooting for 3 to 4 vacations a year. And it's just not our life. And it's a hard reality to accept. And that's why, even though I know that this is an opportunity to build, it's also wrapped up in this death, if you will. Like, this life, this idea that life is going to be a certain way is dying, is dead. It's a cycle that has to die. And so I think that's why it's so difficult, because it's like the concept that we were raised with and that we grew up with, it doesn't work. It doesn't. And I don't know that it ever will. And it has to die. That philosophy has to die in order for things to change. So it's been a very wacky 6 months in 2026. And we're not even done with June yet. It's only June 1st right now. So all that to say, we're going to be moving into my uncle's. I know for certain that we're going to be there until the end of the year. What happens from December to January, I don't know. But what I do know is that we do the best we can with the resources we have. And I have some resources still available to me, and the whole point is to get them to work, to do work. So that is the plan. I do have a messaging guide available with 30 days of pre-planned out content that you can grab at my Stan store. It's like $10. I was like, screw it, make it $10. So you go grab that there. I definitely recommend, if you have not yet already, to hop on my email list. And then if you have not yet already, be sure to go over and subscribe to my YouTube, because I will be making YouTube videos weekly from now until the end of the year. So I think I'm going to get at least 24 done. And the goal is to do a couple more. I'm going to bring everything long form, because I think I have a long form story to be able to really truly build out a fan base. And I'm gonna shoot my shot over on YouTube, because Instagram has always been difficult for me. I have shot my shot at TikTok, and it's not that it's difficult, it's just that I feel like I have to endlessly hustle and endlessly work to get TikTok to where I want it to go. And I would much rather be open and cohesive in telling a story on a YouTube channel instead of like forcing myself to record 3 videos per day. Just don't want to do it. I think that's the cat coming in to the room. So all that being said, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to share this episode with someone you know, a friend, someone you love, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode. Okay, thanks. Love you. Bye.